before, and all is well. Yeah, I did the right thing. There's a white woman coming, and I got into a submissive position with my back facing, sitting on my, and just as a way of just relaxing and enjoying a place while also slowly changing my body language to being more submissive or more passive. And she had a nice passive dog. She had a nice passive dog with her, and that was nice, all a very good interaction, and she was a nice white female energy, so which is really good considering I spent the first half of the day talking negatively about white middle-aged females just like her. So but she was, I always say, like, I'm willing to respect every good energy around, and she had a great energy. Didn't even really look at her, right? Which is very passive. So she really respected that. I didn't look at her. I didn't look at her butt when she was walking by. And the good ones appreciate that. Right? So she has a chance to basically check me out, and I'm not checking her out. And they like that. If I err on the side of being too submissive to a nice white female, then that's better than ever erring on the side of being insufficiently submissive to other not so nice white females. So I've seen females be even surprised how passive I am. I came to this one health food store. She was new there, and I was very passive, like, please don't hurt me kind of thing, right? But they have no idea what I'm used to shopping in health food stores for women. You're better off just being very much, because even if they are excited by you and they think you're snazzy, if you're passive, it's better than trying to meet them at that level. And also because it can turn into the opposite at any time. So you're better off being passive. If you start off, like, get a little too overconfident, they don't like that. They actually feed more off of the passive person, unless you're like naturally an aggressive male, in which case they'd probably prefer you, if they could get someone like you, but they respect you more, right? Because it is in the same category of fairly aggressive human behavior. What most people consider normal assertiveness in white society, everything is always over-aggressive. And all you have to do to notice that is the absence of certain provisions for the voice and safety of other beings. Hey, I'm good aggressive man. Hey, here, I'm good aggressive woman. Hey, your children just locked all the bathroom stalls in this senior citizen zone. Oh yeah, some good old children fun. That's what we used to do. Hey. And I've been around that. And there are male and female elder men and women who are crapping themselves because their children like to prank by locking all the stalls from the inside. And it's just, hey, didn't you do that when you were young? Because they actually consider pranks, as you might see it on television the last 50 years. So that's a really normal, natural, if not impish and demonic thing for humans to resort and call adequate, age-appropriate play. It isn't. It isn't. Not when it fails to make an adequate provision for the voice and safety of other people. And why do I feel like Jewish people understand this very well? I think it's a very Jewish thing about me when it comes to ethics. In the most wonderful Orthodox Jewish sense, I think, is about ethics and really being careful about provisions for other people's voices in their own safety. Because it's just better for everyone that way. If you've ever been on the other side of that, Jews in some cases had to be litigious. Otherwise, they wouldn't have anywhere to go eat. You know what I mean? People had to be forced at the point of a legal, or what it really means, an economic gun, to stop being assholes to Jewish people at different points in the world. Right? Why? I don't know. Because they're Jewish? I don't know. Like, good for you. I'm not sure if I'd like every Jewish person I saw, and I don't know if maybe all the Jews in those areas were just really the conniving, kikey, Shylock type of people, getting everyone down with their ability to constantly work people away from their money, and their way of life. I'm not sure if that's ever been an adequate representation of any Jewish people, but I think it's really important once you step away from the anti-Semitic type of racism, and as a white person, focus my racism on white people, because you basically have to focus it somewhere, and then say, in all the problems that the human race face, I'm not at this point in my life, at 50, prepared to think that has a lot to do with Jewish people. in the sense that you need to focus upon them as a source of some incredible evil. I would say that people sometimes, I think, following the road to understand the darkness of the world are meant to be diverted from certain strong insinuations into which maybe even magical powers have been placed, if you will, by the bad Jews or the people who condescend to play Jewish people on the world stage, because no religion in many of its top levels is being, perfectly Jewish or perfectly Christian. There's a lot of control and economic control and witchcraft and all that kind of stuff. But why should the Jewish religion face any more suspicion than any religion, in so much as lending itself to inadequate provisions for human safety when it comes to what we would prefer over the way the world is and how power is distributed, right? So why would you make Jewish people suffer more than any other religion? Because the only way you could make them suffer is because of their religious allegiance to the people who own the Torah, the people who practice different kinds of any religion that get up to mischief, you might say, because religion is a powerful thing, and to give people control and trust of, as though God-like beings who write the Bible or the Torah or anything else, is, you almost kind of like, it's buyer beware when you get into a religion. Again, not an argument to single out Jews for special punishment, and only for particularly religious affiliations, in as much as their interest in the Torah blinds them to the misuses of all religions in the world. But not at all because they cut foreskin off their children's penises, or have interesting, even kooky ideas about human history, as much as they even appear favored by the awful atrocities which they have endured, given long-standing prophetic revelations about the nature and preeminence of perhaps things that include, in a religious spectrum, tremendous physical, mental traits that maybe don't make them great NBA players, but they all basically can get their MBAs by the time they're 13 years old, and stuff like that. And different religions have been able, maybe in some cases, particularly Jewish, capable of developing an enormously incredible mental prowess and ethics that we could all put into the roundtable discussion of how ethical any of us or any of our families are. But that favors high ethical development and modesty and hard work and qualifications and the type of interest and even foundations in your orientation to reality or the universe, because Judaism allows for anything really, that commend you to occupations requiring a good deal of skill and trust, and that make them an awful lot of money. And apparently that's how the world works. It rewards competence. And it's not a Jewish conspiracy. It lives by conspiracy. I mean, they're just very good at taking care of their children. And they get very good at doing sorts of things in the world. And lots of people who deal with reality in various ways get really good. You might say it's not fair that black people produce so many NBA stars. Maybe that's a black conspiracy. Different people get really good at stuff. That's supposed to be a good thing. I don't think anyone should ever be able to have power over people. That's a different matter. And anyone who can have power, regardless of ethnicity or religion, could err on the side of being part of something that I don't like and that I don't get the benefit of, either abstractly, existentially, or in terms of physical human outcomes. If Jewish people went to war with me at some point, then maybe, yes, I would dislike them. If there was like the war of the Jews against me. I don't know about anyone else. I don't think there's ever been the war of the Jews. It's always been the war on the Jews. I've never seen or heard of any Jews actually mounting some sort of competent and, sufficiently motivated military attack upon any vulnerable people, except, in terms of the most negative anti-Semitic aspersions that can be cast out of the shadows of World War II and the banking cartels of the world and so forth. But I don't know. I think whoever controls the world and how we happen to see it, I'm glad they've sprinkled some non-Jewish names like Rockefeller, Rothschild, which I don't even know if that's a Jewish name. It's like apparently it's like rich Jewish people, but it's like I don't know, it's not like any Jewish name I've ever heard. You know, it would be like the Rothschild Shapiros or something. And they would all like have made lots of money from the legal system, you know, where there's always money to be made because all kinds of goys are always getting themselves into trouble. And it's like in Liar Liar, I'm sure a Jewish writer said, hey, you don't want to have trouble with the courts? Stop committing crimes. Like it's something that a lot of Jewish people have figured out how not to do. You know, you don't get a lot of Jews in jail. You know, not that I'm sure they haven't played characters in movies that are absolutely the most dangerous person in jail. Like instead of saying like, you're not locked up in here with me, or I'm not locked up in here with you, you're locked up in here with me. And I often think that there are characters in movies, criminals and whatnot, that Jewish writers imagine themselves to be, you know, with kind of, and not an anti-Semitic sense, the small penis that often Hollywood writers and producers, I think, often seem to suffer from, which makes them better writers. You know, because like I don't have time to write an entire film to make, you know, allow me to imagine what it would be like to be a real man. So, you know, being a Hollywood screenwriter, just a famous one or anything, just does seem to be often be a male fantasy lived out into the type of scripts which are borne out by their efforts. Very sophisticated, very, you know, incredibly intelligent writers, Jewish writers in media, right? Very talented. I'm not sure if they're all small penis or anything. I just mean that movies in general. Seem to be written by cocaine addicts, you know? Tom Cruise, you know? Every guy has to be the fastest NASCAR racer, the best street fighter, the most amazing military MP, the most amazing fighter pilot, the most amazing salesman, you know, the most amazing father, the most amazing lover that ever came up on his motorcycle. I mean, it's so over the top. Top Gun should be called Over the Top Homoerotic Cinema. And people were just like, finally, they're telling me. And you get all the gay demographic. Hey, pay $500. Get to ride behind Tom on his motorcycle. And then you just picture, like, if you were riding behind Tom Cruise on his motorcycle, what song from Top Gun would you pick? Test your friends, and then you'll see who's gay. Would it be like, take my breath away? And I think, the straight men are thinking, nah, not so much. I mean, it's nice, don't get me wrong, it's almost romantic. If you pictured Tom with breasts, it would make perfect sense. But other than that, which, by the way, Tom Cruise is really a woman. So just a thing. But anyway, I'm not going to justify it. We're not going to use that one. How about hiding on the edge, feeling such a molten fire. Like, oh, stop the presses. Maybe not that one. How about free falling, free falling. Guns in the sky. No, maybe not. I can't think of anything phallic. Oh, shit. This is getting too hard. I'm on the back of a bike with Tom Cruise and I can't think of the perfect song. Something simple. Something that isn't homoerotic in nature. As far from gay as possible. Okay, that's Tom's ass. I'm holding his chest. Ooh, he smells nice. Okay, let's get all the gay stuff out of the way. He's big, he's strong. He's not going to let you fall off the bike. You're not just one of his peasant fans. He isn't just going to throw you off as soon as he finds some sort of homosexual prostitute to pick on. You're in good hands. He's Tom Cruise. Man, this guy's really friendly. Like, boy, he's going really fast on the bike. Oh, is he going over that bridge? Tom, I'm not a stuntman. And he's like one of those stories that Tom Cruise tells on TV about he's with a friend and he makes them do something they didn't feel like doing. Like, hey, we're jumping out of a plane today. You know, because Tom Cruise really thinks he's the best at everything. So should you be if you're around him. He's like, okay, Lennon, you're gonna jump on the back of this other speed bike, okay, and we're both gonna fly over this bridge, and I've got a parachute because everything must end with parachutes with Tom. You should have known that beforehand, and it's gonna deploy. And then you're going to come down into the canal, and then you're going to swim to the shore before it turns into that giant bilge pipe over there. All right? Come on, man. You can do this. Think of Mission Impossible 10. Don't want to die when you're out with Tom. That doesn't sound gay at all. I still can't think of a song. A couple of silver spoons. Now, how about... Believe it or not, I'm floating on air long. You are the wind, wings like wings. Love, love, love. It's all about love things. Oh, love things. Dun, 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 dun. No, come on, it's got to be a Top Gun. Dun, 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 dun. Riding on the edge of a hot desire. And you're like, you're pumping Tom in the chest. Come on, Tom. And he's like, ah, blah, blah. He's like, what, Tom? He's like, stop touching my nipples. It's like, okay. He's such a good attitude about it, though. He's laughing. That classic Tom Cruise. It's like, do you need to out my ethics, Tom? That's okay. Just one more time and you're going to have to be one of my gay besties. God knows what he's going to do for that. But like, that's the worst thing he could have said. It's like, never touch his nipples again. Never touch Tom's nipples. I'm not gay. I'm not gay. Don't touch Tom Cruise's nipples. Boy, he's got perfectly formed pecs. My God, man. I mean, I'm never going to have them. I might as well hold them. You know? I'm holding Maverick. I want him to breastfeed me. I don't know. Oh, I'm so sorry what happened to Goose, but I don't know what happened to Goose, but maybe you have room for a second. I'm to sit behind you on the ride of your life. Hummingbird. Oh. Tom Cruise. What if I was just having coffee with Tom? I think it's a little too difficult to figure out a song to play in your mind if you're on the back of one of Tom's racing bikes. Holding on to Tom, I don't know. Is there really a song beautiful enough? Maybe I'd have to ask Tom, like, what would you prefer to listen to? And he'd be like, we have like a radio head, he'd be like, Landon, you need to stop jabbering, right? This next corner takes my total attention. Please shut up. For the love of the cool kid, man. And I'd be like, okay, Tom, I'm sorry. Maybe this bike thing isn't working out. My expectations were perhaps a bit too high. Perhaps I was a bit too high when I accepted your offer. Either way, I think we should just have a cup of coffee. something dark, hot, and black that would take my mind off their penis. That's from a musical called I'm Not Gay. Oh, the birds. Maybe it's like a Peter Gabriel. Maybe Madonna. What song would I listen to if I was at a diner having a cup of coffee with Tom Cruise? Just beat it, beat it. And Tom's like, Landon, really? I'm like, okay, Tom. At this point, though, he digs my sense of humor, so I've been like, I'm totally jive for this. Like, no, I'm gonna really walk on one. How about a little Mozart? No, it's not Mozart, but like, play along. And he'd be like, a man of some refinement. But he'd say it in some other language which I couldn't speak, so I'd just like nod and be like, I hope that was good. I hope that was good. It looks like it's good. Tom is staring at me with an incredible stare. It's like he's looking right through me. Wait a second, I think he is looking through me. Tom, can you read the sign behind my head? And he'd be like, I could, but then I'd have to do it. And like, I'd be like, please do. Choke me. Choke to death by Tom. Shit. I like that. Is that the Blue Danube? No, I'm sorry. That's Zarathustra. Yeah. Strauss. Richard. Or is it like Richard Zarathustra? Dun, 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 dun. My favorite name for a song is the Blue Danube. I mean, that's a great name for a song. It just sounds like fun. Oh, there. It takes every color. Hey. Looks like a fun dog to walk with, hey?
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
She never stopped.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's got a nice energy to her. Yeah. I like how she can explore, but she doesn't go too far.
Yeah, me too.
That's good.
It's taking a while. She's 2.5.
Oh, well, good job.
So
Yeah.
it's taking a while, but she's there.
Yeah, good. Hey there. Oh wow! I actually kind of wanted to see where this trail goes. The sister's like, I don't want to follow that white woman. She's actually quite nice. I was like, she's got her dog really well trained. Like I was like, I was not maybe her dog was naturally like that. She said, oh, it's taken a while. It's been 2.5 years, and that's like the best side of white people. Good trainers of dogs. They stay like it's like a job, right? They stay consistent. Can clear boundaries. Like a lot of the things that are good for training dogs can be either abusive or the same kind of thing you'd want to use for human children. Well, you don't want to turn your children into dogs. So I've seen dogs that have been turned into humans. And it's like by people who've probably been spending their careers turning humans into dogs. And it is like some sort of like, I've looked into their dog's eyes and it's like what you'd expect if you looked into the eyes of some sort of malformed beast from what should have been illegal genetic mutation. You know, it's not a fun thing to behold. Oh, I hear some people. It can't be good. Oh wow. Maybe. It's like a whole little wrecking. Men on a pile of old metal, scrap metal. They didn't seem anxious to shout at me. I do have to pee at some point. I would say, Tom, we need to stop the bike. I have to urinate. And he'd be like, just do it. Now, just go, man. Be free. We're animals. I'm like, okay, if you say so. They'd be like, whoa, dude, you're really pissing yourself. Like, wow, you'll do anything I say because I'm Tom Cruise. Like, I totally lost all respect for you. Like, but Tom, it's like, no, I'm just kidding, man. I respect you. Respect a man who pisses himself. Wow. That's some smelly piss you got there. Whoa. And then Tom would like passively aggressively criticize the smell of my piss. And I'm like, Tom, I don't like criticism. My father criticized me once. You're Maverick. You don't criticize people. You destroy people on the volleyball court with your massive boy chest. You know how young men in film are always overdeveloped? You know, it's like they practically have tits. When they take off their shirts, and I've noticed like young guys on TV and stuff like that, it's like they have breasts. Right? It's not a white woman walking by one taking a piss, and it's like they have tits, right? I mean, it's unseemly. It's like, wow, let me boulder up your tits, your man nipples pointing out in your white t-shirt. They all have these totally ripped bodies. They call them that, ripped, cut, you know, all these kind of military terms. You know, it's kind of like cut to a certain level so you can make the grade. And no one says like just like the humongous carrots. That you can lift weights every fucking day of your life. You can rip and cut yourself all you like, but it doesn't make you strong. You know, resistance training is always the way to go. You know, you want to work beside someone who does resistance training, right? That has to work against their own body weight in a sufficiently intelligent, methodical way. You can kind of work out anywhere you go. It's like with men and women. I don't want too much to look at. Don't give me so much to look at. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to look at your body and think, oh God, I just don't want to be that attracted. Like, what is attractive to the eyes when it comes to the human body, to me, isn't always attractive. It's just hard to ignore. Like, it's like a boner, right? If I had a boner, you'd be attracted to my boner. But that doesn't mean you want to get on top of my boner and start riding it. Even like, it's just hard not to notice. I could go to a school for girls and take out my dick one day in front of my students and I'd be like, but Honor, they were attracted to it. They clearly were attracted to it. I mean, it must be incredible. I was cut. I took out my boner and they were attracted to it. It's like, the judge would be like, well, they could have hardly ignored it. you can't blame them for looking at your engorged penis. It's not something they expected to see that day. You know, maybe they had secretly hoped, but that doesn't count in the court of law. It's like, well, I have subpoenaed all the journals of every girl in that class, and I had nothing but positive reviews in that night's journal. It was like, our teacher was just so free. I so admired that he felt he could be completely honest about his interest in boning every one of us. Your Honor, let me read through these. There's hundreds of them. And it's like, and the prosecution is like, we object. We're willing to stipulate that they're all positive, but they are, after all, 14-year-old girls who've never seen a man's penis before. It's like, yes, quite right, quite right. What else have you got? By the way, I'd like to read all of those. Let me take exhibits 1 through 300 home with me tonight, so I can give them more critical consideration. Oh, come on, that's funny. Not appropriate, but funny. I don't really want to know what goes on in girls' minds. I've had enough. Oh, I spent my whole life worrying about what women think. I've spent my life with a bone, hanging on the phone, and I wanted to hear you speak and tell me what you thought and felt every day of your life. Oh honey, I want to hear everything so dear, including what your friend said in math class, and you thought that it was just dreadful. And the clothes she wore, whoa, it's like she just was a whore. And everything she said, it made you want to pull her hair and scream like a banshee. I don't want to know what women feel every day of their lives. I can imagine in the more notable kitty cats that grow up to run the world, I suppose, as they do with their boobs and everything else, is that they have some fairly ferocious ways of forming their minds upon the well-being or not of what they deserve out of life. That no boy or girl in the school system is finding any success, but that they learn how to take what's theirs, take their place on the stage, you know, and grimacing and remarking about and talking about and gossiping about the various foibles of your fellow man, and commending yourself to play roles of just such indubitable righteousness and knowing what's right and what he or she should say or should do, as would commend you to the high ranks of the gods themselves, of the judicial establishment of eternity. And I'm sure your minds are just